Okay, I saw the notification, so I think we're good. Recording and transcription. All right, wonderful. All right, thank you everybody for coming to the February 8th, 2023 Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. Calling it to order. So for those who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Gallagher. I'm the chair of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We have an exciting agenda for us today. And the first item on the agenda is let's do some introductions so people know kind of who's on the call here today. So the way I like to do this is just give a brief introduction of yourself, your relationship to the committee, whether you're a member, you're a guest who's speaking tonight, you're a member of the public who's just interested. So your name, your affiliation, and then whereabouts you're coming from tonight. All right, and the way I'll do it is I have a list of the attendees of the meeting. I'll call two at a time, and then if you could just say those things, I should be able to get through it lickety-split. All right, wonderful, wonderful. So as I said, my name is Lizzie Gallagher, chair of the committee, and I am in the Ballston neighborhood tonight. All right, can we have Andrea Walker and then Anne?
I am also a member of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and I'm in Arlington Ridge.
Hi, I'm Ann Bond. I'm not lucky enough to live in Arlington, but I am lucky enough to live in Delray, Alexandria, and I'm the new community engagement manager for Nova Parks, and I'll be speaking a little bit later on about that.
Wonderful, welcome. Can we have Antonio and then Brian?
Hi, my name is Antonio Rossi. I'm a contractor for the county working for the Community Services Bureau. I'll be presenting a little bit information later on, and I am in the DC area.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Shelton. I am an intern for the county. I work in the Department of Environmental Services, Transportation, or TPCPM. And I was just curious about what happened here tonight.
Welcome. Can we have Eric Malpelli, then Eric Goodman?
Hi, Eric Malpelli, member coming from the Old Dominion Civic Association off Langston Boulevard.
Hi, I'm Eric Goodman, and I'm the vice chair of this committee. I'm also a liaison to the Bicycle Advisory Committee, and I see that a couple of the guests today spoke at the Bicycle Advisory Committee on Monday, so probably know a little bit about what you're going to be speaking about. But also, I live in the Bluemont neighborhood. Thanks.
Jim and then Mary.
Jim Feaster, member of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I live in Ballston.
I'm Mary DeLau. I'm with Walk Arlington, and I live in Bluemont.
We have Matt and then Michelle.
Hello, everyone. This is Matt Jones from the National Landing Bid. Great to be here. Thanks for all those that came out to our Mobility Next event last week. We really got a great time.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Stafford. I work in DES. I'm pinch hitting for David and Leah, who are unable to attend tonight, so be gentle. But I also happen to live in the Shirlington neighborhood.
Mike and then Pam.
Hi, I'm Mike Collins. I'm with DES, and I'll be presenting tonight about the High Density Concrete Maintenance Program. My work home is down at the Trade Center in Shirlington, and my other home is just across the border in McLean.
I'm Pam Van Hine. I'm the recording secretary for the PAC, and I live in Aurora Heights. And you're right, Eric, we did take some of the ideas from the back program because it was a great program on Monday. Thank you for coming back, people.
Patrick and then Tom.
Good evening, Patrick Kenny, a member of the PAC, and I live in Boston.
Tom, you're on mute. Nice. Oh, except we still can't hear you. Okay, well, Tom figures out, so Tom is a member of the committee. Give him a moment to figure out his, we'll come back to you, Tom, for you to figure out your setup. And maybe we could go to, there's one phone number, ends in 89.
That was me. That was me, Anne.
Oh, okay. Oh, so savvy. Okay, great. Tom, are you back with us? Okay, unfortunately, I'm not hearing you, Tom. If you would like to introduce yourself in the chat, feel free, but I hope things work out so you can participate in the discussions. Thank you for joining us. All right, so great. So that is all of our introductions. Got a nice showing from the membership, as well as a lot of other folks here today talk about pedestrians. Okay, great. So jumping in, let's start with Anne. If you could give your introduction and say hello.
Thank you so much, Lizzie. I really appreciate that. This is my second backpack meeting. I was introduced at the Bicycle Advisory Committee 2 nights ago, and I'll also be, working with a whole lot of you in this new role. So some of you might know me as AP. I just finished about 10 years as the Northern Virginia outreach representative for U.S. Senator Mark Warner. But Nova Parks came recruiting really, really hard, and I'm the new community engagement manager for Nova Parks. So I'll still be doing community outreach, except I'm going to be doing it on behalf of this incredibly diverse regional park system. But it's with the territory and region that I'm really, really familiar with, having worked in it for the last decade or so for the senator. A lot of you also might have met me when we did the Long Bridge event a little bit last year. It was the unveiling of the RAISE grant check that we unveiled at the Aquatic Center, and it was some beautiful, I'd never been there before, a beautiful multimodal trail that connects Arlington, Virginia with DC, and it was just a little bit of a taste, I guess, of some of the work that I'll be doing, connecting all these different communities together. So in this regard, my new role with Nova Parks, and I have little dogs and I can hear them. I don't know if you can hear them. Okay, yeah. Okay, so they're not quiet little dogs. They are very excitable. But yeah, so the communities that I'm kind of threading together and making stronger are the friends of our parks, and also in this sense, the W&OD Trail is running from Arlington all the way to Purcellville. So the section that pertains to y'all, and I'm just learning more as I go. This is my 3rd week, so this coming together with the W&OD Trail project is basically a widening of it. So there's a little section of the W&OD Trail in Falls Church that you can see. It's a beautifully wide, expanded part of the trail with 2 lanes for bicyclists and then another 2 lanes for pedestrians of all kinds. And we're talking, joggers, runners, just walkers and strollers and dogs. So I will be trying to expand that and helping it, go the entire length of the W&OD, but we're doing it in sections at this time. So therefore, I'm really distracted by my dogs right now, but that's the ultimate plan. And I'm really, really pleased to have the support of the cycling community right now. And if there's any way that we could harness the power of the pedestrian advocates that I'm meeting with y'all tonight, that would be wonderful as well. So thank you. And happy to answer any questions.
All right, and as with all of our speakers, if you have a question for Anne, feel free to raise your hand.
I'll also drop my email in the chat so you can reach out if you have anything that, comes to mind, if it's not immediate right now.
All right, well, I can start us off with a question. So Anne, I know you're just the third week on the job, so I'm sure you'd have a different or more fleshed out answer in a month or two. But for maybe like this specific WNOD engagement, or sort of other, similar engagements we might be interested in, I guess, do you have a vision for kind of how a group of advocates like us can be involved beyond like, filling out online forms, or like, is there a way that you think we could, be useful in your new capacity?
I'm not quite sure how anyone could actually be opposed to dual trails. It just makes so much common sense to me from a safety standpoint as well. It just seems to be not just common sense, but very safety minded in general. And I think that's where our causes can really align as pedestrians, as multimodal trail users, bicyclists. Everyone using this trail safely is the ultimate goal. And so by widening it and like increasing signage, I don't know, possibly even adding lights. The only thing that I can see, coming up to be an obstacle in this goal would be people who may not like street lights or safety or widening the trail for any reason. So if there's a way that I could line up the support now to kind of like ease and lubricate that momentum and progress that we've already made some pretty good headway on, I think that would be the best way to harness the power of your advocacy. Because we've got similar alignments and similar goals, it just seems to make the most sense to me. But of course, that's just me noodling this job out on the third week on the job. So, but yeah, I will definitely be sure to let you know.
All right, Eric.
I assume you mean Eric Goodman, Eric.
I do, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, because there's a few Eric, sorry. Can I just share a picture just to kind of show what the Falls Church looks like?
Yeah, please do.
All right, let me see if I can bring one up. I don't know if folks can see that. I assume that's what we're talking about, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. This is obviously before I came on, but it looks legit to me.
Okay, so that basically the bicycle portion is two ways on one side, and then the running portion is separated, but just separated with a some sort of textured colored separator. So,
yeah.
All right. I just wanted to check. I think this was a picture from Falls Church.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, can you hear me okay? Point of clarification and a comment. Anne, you initially said something about Friends of some park, and I didn't hear what the name of the park was.
Oh, the Friends of the WNOD Trail. And
Oh,
not every,
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're still Friends of the WNOD Trail. Okay, I thought it was a park. And my second comment was, am I right that there has been some opposition to widening the trail, in parts, the conflict with greenery and whatever, or am I misremembering something?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. There are people there who are opposed to any single blade of grass, getting removed in the sacrifice for a wider and safer trail. But I think our environmental bona fides are pretty strong in that we've got naturalists and botanists who say that a lot of the greenery around these trails are invasive species as well, and they should not be there to begin with. But there's some people who would oppose it just because, you know, there's some grasses and weeds that need to be taken out, and they're opposed to that.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, I'm not seeing any other hands. Just want to thank you again for joining us, Anne. Wish you best of luck. I've been following this project. I love the section near Falls Church. Would recommend everyone to go check it out. And yeah, we'll look forward to hearing more from you, either in our mailboxes or at a future meeting. So thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invitation. This has been a lovely introduction. Hope to work with you all soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. All right, so moving to the next item on our agenda, we have Mike Collins here from DES Operations. I just wanted to give a quick preamble to kind of why we asked Mike to come talk to us today. So for those who were at our previous meeting, it was a backpack joint meeting. We kind of talked about our budget priorities that we wanted to share with the county manager. And one of the budget priorities was basically doing something about what we perceive as a problem, like a gap in sidewalk maintenance in the county, specifically the sidewalks that are outside of kind of commercial businesses in our like highly populated corridors. I'm sure as Mike will explain a little bit more clearly, the maintenance of these sidewalks is the responsibility of the property owner, but there's currently no like teeth that the county has, a way of making sure those sidewalks are actually maintained. And so some of them have fallen into disrepair. I think a lot of us have experience using report a problem and then, you know, getting our sidewalk issues closed because they're like, oh, well, we'll let the property owner know. And so as we learned in a previous discussion, so that's a description of the gap. As we learned in a discussion, I think in our November meeting, might have been our October meeting, there did used to be a department or an initiative that would allow for the county to basically to have teeth to enforce. There are more details, but to enforce the maintenance of these sidewalks. But that kind of disappeared mysteriously over time. And so yeah, so that's the gap. That's when we heard about it. When we presented our budget priorities to the county manager last month, so Cynthia of the back and I, we went to a meeting and we like had these discussions with the county manager. He was very interested in this, and he demonstrated that he had experienced some of these sidewalks. He declined to name which ones, but enough detail, I know which ones he was talking about, and they are great examples of this problem. And so I think this is a real possibility for, I mean, it's kind of just been missed and it's a gap over time. I think this is a real possibility for us to shine light on this issue and kind of bring it to the forefront and hopefully kind of get this gap filled. So it doesn't seem like a decision was made here, just something kind of disappeared over time. So with all of that preamble, why we have asked Mike here is to kind of give us a little bit of background, of history, kind of as we think about making our pitch and strategy, trying to a little bit of fact finding. So thank you for joining us, Mike. Hopefully what I said was mostly correct, but I'd love to hear from you.
Well, yeah, so thank you, Lizzie, for that introduction, and it helps me actually understand what prompted you all to be interested in this topic. And your facts are fairly straight. So I did put together a little PowerPoint. I think I've got like 5 slides here, and I think they largely hit on the issues that you're interested in. And then I expect you may have questions. I'm happy to stick around and answer whatever questions you got. So hopefully, can you all see the screen okay? Yeah. Okay. All right. It's kind of going to be kind of hard for me because I'm in my not in my usual office. So that's me. I'm Mike Collins. And I'm gonna let's see if we can do this. So the high density HDCM, high density concrete maintenance program. The high density concrete maintenance program is, as Lizzie said, a program that obligates adjacent property owners to be responsible for the maintenance and repair of sidewalks adjacent to their properties. And it is established per zoning district. So there's in the resolutions that support this program, there's a listing of all of the multifamily and commercial zoning districts. So any property in those districts per this program is required to maintain, repair, replace the adjacent sidewalk, even if and when that sidewalk is in the county right of way or even in a VDOT right of way. It was, for historical, just for some historical context, back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, we actually charged assessments even in the residential districts. And I think Jim Feaster, I know Jim and I have gone back a long way. Jim may even, I don't want to date Jim inappropriately, but he might recall back when even the NC program actually would assess the adjacent property owners and they would have to pay back a portion of the cost of a neighborhood conservation project. So there is a long history here. And sometime in the mid-90s, earlier mid-90s, the county board decided that wasn't a very popular practice, and the county board at that time eliminated that practice but kept it in place in these commercial districts. So there is a state code which authorizes and enables this. Now, one of the challenges of this program is that there are a bunch of obligations in that state code to actually implement this. Lizzie kind of suggested this, and she's generally right. We have over the years, we've not necessarily maintained all of those various obligations perfectly. So that is a bit of a challenge with this program, but that's a background on the program. You can see that second bullet there. The county board did issue specific resolutions on the high density concrete maintenance program in 2000 and 2005. And one of the other things that I think Lizzie alluded to was those resolutions did indicate that we would do a 3-year inspection cycle. And it described how the program would work and tried to provide some incentives for property owners to work with us that we, if they cooperated, we would do the repairs for them. We'd give them a $500 break, but they would have to pay us. So that's the concept of the program. Now, in practice, it does not work as smoothly as it would sound on paper. And if you think through it, you may be able to think of some of the challenges that we encounter when we try and implement the high density concrete maintenance program. So one is, in many of these corridors, these commercial properties, it's hard to actually identify who the property owner or manager is that it would be responsible in each case. You have various leasing and licensing situations. You may have franchises, so you have corporate authorizations. So it gets pretty complex. Now, a really exciting or really something that I really appreciate our colleagues over at CPHD have started to assemble you guys may have heard of it or be aware of it, have started to assemble a database of multifamily properties and who the property managers are, so who the contacts are. So that has helped us quite a bit. But we still struggle with who ultimately is responsible for, what person or entity would be responsible for any high density concrete maintenance, repair, or issue. Then, in terms of if there is, so sometimes we have the whole gamut, the whole range of responses when we notify an adjacent property owner of their responsibility under this program. Sometimes they're eager and willing and aware of this program and take care of it. Other property owners are sometimes incredulous and sometimes just obstinate or unwilling to do it. But from a very real standpoint too, there are some challenges which come, which for property owners in terms of to implement this program. It's depending on who we're dealing with and what kind of agency or organization it is, asking them to go through and get various permits, including county permits and sometimes VDOT permits, finding contractors, contracting with contractors to do right-of-way work. And so we have over the years had legal challenges at times. So it can be some work getting property owners to go along with this. Now, one important dynamic or characteristic that is changing the landscape, both figuratively and literally, I think, is there's something we call it just the site plan condition. So property under a site plan. So most of you are probably familiar as we get in our commercial corridors, large multifamily or large developments. Many of those properties redevelop through a site plan process. And I am by no means an expert on site plan processes. So I hope what I say would not offend our CPHD friends. But basically, I think site plan is that a property gets certain additional benefits, maybe density, height, and so on, beyond the zoning code in return for certain conditions put on that development. And beginning in about 2003, one of the standard site plan conditions, you can see I've listed it here in that bullet, that italicized bullet, is that for all site plans since 2003, we include an explicit statement that basically states it overwrites and replaces or displaces the high density concrete maintenance, but effectively does the same thing. You can see that it says the developer agrees to maintain and replace the street trees and sidewalks for the life of the site plan. That very explicit agreement in a site plan document has been significantly more effective in garnering responsiveness and cooperation or compliance with the responsibility to take care of the site plan. Now, that chart that I'm showing you there is blue indicates the square footage of sidewalk that is under the high density program and not controlled by a site plan. And the orange lines indicate the quantity of sidewalk that has been installed and is under the site plan condition, which again, the site plan condition is a much more efficient and effective method of implementing compliance. So you can see we are at 2022, which is right where I can't see the screen so well, but we are now, I think, exceeding our site plan controlled sidewalks now exceed the number of high density, and that trend is going to continue. So that's a positive thing where we're going to have more explicit requirements for adjacent property owners to maintain those portions of sidewalk. And obviously we project out, so that is a projection beyond 2022. And the site plan, the high density controlled sidewalks will never go completely away because not every property in the commercially zoned districts will redevelop under site plans. Some of them will redevelop under by right conditions, and so then site plan conditions won't apply. But that is a positive trend, and I think that's an important context. So last slide I've got for you is just how to report a problem, excuse me. And so I think you guys already mentioned it. We have the report a problem. You can do it on our website. You can use the app, or if you need to call somebody, you can call our customer contact center at 703-228-5000. That's quick, hopefully a fairly quick presentation. Hopefully answered some of your questions or sparked some other questions. And I am free to respond to any questions you got. I will stop sharing my screen too.
All right, Pam, why don't you start us off?
Hi, as one of the PAC members who sits on the SPRCs frequently. So these new specifications are relatively new. Have you had time to notice whether the developer is now in compliance with sidewalk repair, or is it too soon to say? Because the buildings are relatively new and probably the sidewalks are still in fairly good condition. Do you have experience with compliance?
Yeah, we do. Site plan, and if you think about it, it's 20 years old, and especially, these sidewalks, especially as we were using a lot of brick pavers, which may not have life. So we do have a lot of experience enforcing site plan conditions. It is not flawless. We still get into some challenges, but it is significantly less challenging than going into a property that's just controlled by the high density program.
Yeah, I have. Oh, sorry, Pam. You have other questions. You go
to
ahead.
follow up with that, is staffing and some of the other issues that you mentioned still a problem? And should we be pushing for you to have more staffing? Would that help?
Yeah. So over the years, priorities and new initiatives and so on. So, we candidly have fallen out of practice of inspecting the various corridors. And so right now, those resources that existed have either gone away or been shifted to others, and we don't have a dedicated high density concrete maintenance inspection program like was envisioned in the resolutions from 2000 and 2005. In terms of, should you be advocating for that? We are at the same time looking at how effective and costly and challenging the current program is, and looking to see if we should modify it. And we're using a lot of data that we've gathered, including from the sidewalk survey a couple of years ago. And so we are doing an analysis of the program that may tell us we want to keep doing the program and make sure that we do find the resources to do it. Or, there could be some modifications that we would suggest making to the program. But we're in the early stages of looking into those and trying to ensure we've got good data to base our judgments off of.
All right, Jim.
Hi, Mike. How would we know if a sidewalk qualifies? How do we recognize those areas?
Well, that's a good question. So it is driven by the zoning classification. So, for those of you that are really dedicated and really knowledgeable, you can get onto the county website and figure out what zoning district it is. That's probably not the easiest way, or very, very accessible to many people. We have, and we could put up, in fact, we could post a GIS has helped us, and we have maps that show us which properties, I could show them to you or share them with you. But it really it's based on commercial, and there are no obvious indicators out there if you're walking around. Now that shouldn't necessarily, if you're just a resident walking around and you see a problem, the reporting the reporting method is the same, or the reporting process. Just use the reporter problem app, and it's on our side. It's our obligation, and we will figure out, is it the high density concrete maintenance program? Is it maybe a site plan condition? That's what we do. Sorry. Did that answer your question, Jim, or were you trying to figure out more than
perfect?
That? Okay.
No, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, just report it as you would any sidewalk. You don't have to do anything different.
Mike, I was wondering if you could just give a brief overview of how the enforcement works for the Yeah, for the properties whose maintenance is under the site plan version.
Yeah. Well, for the site plan, for the enforcement works relatively similar for either case. It's just when we go in and we're able to point to the site plan, you know, we don't walk around with paper anymore, but we could show them on our computer, here's the site plan for your property, here's the condition. We get a lot more, oh, okay, I, you know, accept that, that makes sense to me, I understand that. You know, but it's essentially the same thing. We have to find a responsible agent there. So that's a little bit of work. But once we show them the site plan and the condition, we get a lot more acknowledgement and compliance of, okay, that makes sense to me. Now, for the high density concrete maintenance, the challenge is with property owners that aren't aware of it, or, you know, don't really, you know, may not agree with it, may be surprised when we tell them, you know, a common response that we'll get from a property owner is, that's your right of way. I don't own that. I can't even work there. You know, so then we have to go through the work of explaining to them, well, you know, here is the program, here's the state code that backs it up, that supports it. When we have those challenging situations where we're going to have to work extensively with that property owner to achieve compliance, we will do things like we'll do just an interim fix. We'll put asphalt down to ensure we address the tripping hazard while we wait for a permanent repair to occur, to be affected. Did that answer, give the insight you were looking for, Lizzie? I think that was your question, right?
Yeah, it did. It definitely answered the kind of the back half of like how the, yeah, I see it probably leads to less legal challenges, which I wasn't expecting to be part of your presentation. I guess I'm kind of curious about the front half. This is still predicated upon an inspection happening, right?
Well, it is not. The requirement. No. An inspection is the inspection process of going around the resolution that the county board adopted in 2000 and 2005 made a resolution. Part of the resolution said that we would do 3-year inspections. That is not a precondition to us implementing and requiring a property owner to take care of any necessary tripping hazards or other repairs.
Mm-hmm.
Did that?
I think so. Yeah. Just one follow-up. So then, I guess maybe I'm trying to kind of grasp how your group is like notified of which properties to look into.
So it is generally based upon reports through Report a Problem or any other avenue that we encounter the need for a high density concrete maintenance repair. So it is generally complaint based. Sometimes it's from our own staff identifying it, but we haven't for a number of years done a deliberate inspection of the high density corridor. So that's been a number of years since we've done that. So right now it's based upon complaints or being notified of an issue or us noticing one as through the course of our other business.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. That really helps. All right, any other questions for Mike? Oh, we have 2. Oh no, never mind. That's just a glitch. Pam, Eric? Okay, there we go. Pam first.
Yeah, I changed something with Teams and there's. So, Mike, do you think that you're going to go back to elections?
I think. Yeah, I was, Jim, I think you were having trouble hearing Pam and I was too, but I think I heard the question, which was, Pam, did you ask, or do we expect to go back to doing inspections? Was that your question?
Yeah, I put my my mouthpiece up in my hair. Sorry.
That's
Yes.
all right. That's all right. Yeah, that is certainly, like I said, we're reviewing the program and trying to consider if there are any modifications we could make. And so whether we do inspections or not might be one of the considerations. Yeah, so looking at any of the all aspects of the program, I think are being considered right now. But we are really trying to make sure that whatever decisions we make are based on data to the best of our ability. We have acquired a lot of, our ability to obtain data has really improved in the last 5 years. So we do have more data than we've ever had about this. In fact, we've got reams and reams of data. Sometimes we're getting a little bit overloaded with data, but that is what we're using to try and analyze how well the program's working now, and what changes should be made, if any.
All right, Eric.
So I just have a kind of a really simple logistic problem, but just to ask, you showed something that it was a My Arlington app, and I didn't see anything that says report a problem. There's something that says request service. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, that is, and actually, I'll see if I can pull that slide up. Here, let me share that slide again. That is right. Requests on the app, it's request service, and on the website, it's report a problem, and it takes you to the same place. Here we go. You can see I've circled there in the app that I think it says request service, and on the website, you can see report a problem, and I'm going to have to get my glasses to. So.
Okay, that clarifies it. I just wanted to make certain because yeah, it does in the app. It's not quite as straightforward, so I just wanted to make certain.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us, Mike. I think I speak for the group when I say I think we are excited at the possibility of kind of a refreshed program. Yeah, from our perspective, we think there are some changes that could be made. I maybe have a couple buildings that I'll just keep reporting and report a problem to keep putting in the queue. But yeah, I think we'll be very interested in hearing your thoughts, or if you need input. You might have implicitly gotten some from us today, but if you would ever like it explicitly, we'd really love to be involved in that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your interest and your offer of being collaborating with us on this. So I think as we analyze and complete our analysis and brief at least the manager's office to give them an idea of what we're thinking and what we're seeing. I think at that time I'd be happy to reach back out to you guys and let you know where we're at and what we're thinking, and hopefully that aligns with your interests, and at that point could be advocates for us.
Sounds great.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you, Kat, for also joining.
Yeah, Scooby needs his dinner.
Scooby.
So, yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you all. It was nice to see you all.
Wonderful. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. And next, this is a wonderful slide to have finished on, because we have Antonio here with us to talk about a new feature of Report a Problem. So Antonio, you want to take it away?
Hey, Lucy. Yes, thanks. Thank you for having me. So as I said in the introduction, I am a contractor for the county working for the Community Services Bureau on the shared micromobility program. Before I jump into the report a problem functionality, I did present at the Bicycle Advisory Committee on Monday with a broad overview of the programs. I would like to start with that just to provide some context. I did receive a lot of feedback and questions during that meeting, so if you do have those, please feel free to ask. Just a brief history. Since the program started as a pilot in 2019, it has evolved to a permanent program since 2020, and it has gone through various iterations with different operators, different requirements, etc. Last year in 2022, we had 6 operators. In 2023, we have 5, and you can see the fleet allocation in the table. It's a mix of scooters, e-bikes, but that's just a general current status of the program. I wanted to share some ridership statistics with you. The gold line represents last year, 2022. We closed off with about 550,000 trips of scooters and e-bikes in the county. 91% of those were scooters, 9% of e-bikes, but we will have more e-bikes on the ground this year, so there might be a shift to more e-bike usage. We'll have to wait and see. But as you can see with this graph, there's a big rebound compared to 2019 and 2020, compared to 2020 and 2021. So we do see the ridership has increased since pre-pandemic levels, since pandemic levels, I guess. Another feature besides the report a problem functionality that we now have and is available on the county website for you to view is a public routes map provided by our self-air mobility provider. Here you can view general data statistics and really look at street level usage and see where people are scooting or riding. Next up, I want to talk about corrals. You may have seen corrals being installed in the county. We've installed 75 as of January this year. The plan is to install about 100 of them, depending on budget, the next 4 fiscal years. And these are all funded by permit operator fees. I think the big, contentious issue that still may exist is how do micromobility devices and pedestrians coexist on, narrow sidewalks and whatnot. So we do have several policies and projects in place for this. One of this is the corrals project, where we're trying to take devices off the sidewalks and install on-street corrals. At this point, we're about installing 95% of corrals on streets. We do have a few sidewalk locations as well. Then the motor vehicle code prohibits bike riding, e-bike riding, scooting on sidewalks or protected bike lanes exist. We all know that we don't have protected bike lanes all across the county, so people may still ride their scooter or e-bike on a sidewalk. Then a photo on the right. There are a few of these along protected bike lanes. There's a stencil on the ground. It says, no riding on a sidewalk allowed. And then on that light pole fixture is a sign attached as well, reminding folks to not ride on the sidewalk. So we hope to see, less of those interactions where space is limited. That was my overview on the shared micromobility program, and I want to jump into the report a problem functionality or request a service. I've just taken screenshots from the website. So when you go to the website, this is where you can request a service. As of last week, or 2 weeks ago, if you want to report a scooter or bike that's been blocking a sidewalk or is locked on private property, you can now report it via this tool rather than emailing the mobility inbox. Once you select a location, you'll be brought to the next screen where you can either scroll down the menu list or type in scooter or e-bike. We have several keywords that will pop up this screen where we ask the resident to select the operator. This is crucial for us because this will directly route the request to the operator. You may have tried emailing a general customer support email like hello@bird.com. It would, be sent to their customer support address, but these tickets go directly to the local point of operations contact. So with this, we hope to increase response times from operators. And considering that, we work standard business hours, sometimes we just don't get to see the emails that come into our mobility inbox. Once a resident has selected the device type, you'll be prompted, or the type of issue or the operator name, you'll be prompted to select whether it's a bike or a scooter on the device type, and you'll be asked what the issue is. This example would be blocking the building entrance. You can, if you like, you can add comments or add photos. You'll then receive confirmation that your ticket has been submitted. This is an example of Bird responding to a service request. They are mandated to respond and close out the tickets and include a comment. The service level agreement that we have with the operators is that they should be responding to each misparked device within 2 hours. So in this screenshot, the date and time of the service request was at 8:38, and a follow-up escalation email was sent at 10:47. 2 hours after the service level agreement time period expired, essentially. So they'll be reminded they haven't resolved this issue. That is all I had regarding the SMD program and the report a problem functionality. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Eric Goodman?
Yeah, I just looked through it really quickly. So when you go into that, you have some choices and it just says scooter bike. It doesn't really talk about blocking that. So is that really, if somebody's looking through trying to figure out what to do, is that really self-explanatory that it's actually blocking a sidewalk or that's misparked?
So on the first, maybe I can pull it up. So we do ask for anyone that uses this to only report it for abandoned or misplaced devices. For any other issues, to contact our email address, because operators won't be able to respond to any other type of request type.
I'm sorry, I understand that, but if you go back, if you go back a few steps there, when somebody is making a choice, it just says scooter bike, doesn't it? Does it actually have a heading that says that it's blocking something?
No, because the construction folks took up the block sidewalk or street option.
Okay, that's the only concern I have for us who kind of sort of learned how to do it from you. That makes sense. But if I were not knowledgeable about which one to press, I might not know what scooter bike meant. So I'm just saying you might want to retitle that heading in some way to indicate the issue with the scooter bike, if that makes sense.
Makes sense, definitely. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm seeing no hands, so I'll make a comment and then we'll see if any hands raised after that. But yeah, thank you for sharing with us, Antonio. I know this is great. We've got a bunch of really good report a problem updates recently. So there's this, which is awesome that they respond within 2 hours. The blocked sidewalk, we had a presentation about a few months ago, which is really nice for some concerns we've had around construction. I guess this is not really you, Antonio, but I think it is a wonderful resource that just like keeps getting better. Like it's wonderful if there's so many things you can report that like it's hard to pick a good name because some of the good names are taken. So I guess I keep wondering like how can we make report a problem known more about than just, you know, the hyper involved. That it can be something that's not just, I don't know, that is used more widely. I don't expect an answer to this. This is just my closing thought, I guess.
No, since this is a relatively new feature, not many people know about it, but we have received several tickets already. So, you know, we've posted this on our website, and anyone that continues to email us at our mobility inbox will remind them that this new feature exists.
Yeah, I guess a follow-up, has there been any discussion about like permanent signage or even like temporary signage? Like, since in that map, it's a pretty small corridor that's like seeing, it's basically like two streets in the Roslyn-Ballston corridor and then similar in Crystal City. Like physical real world signage, I feel like you wouldn't need to have very many, and you'd still reach a lot of people.
Just to clarify, this is regarding the no sidewalk riding signage?
Oh, no, sorry. Just thinking about, right, like using the socials or your website to get out the idea about the feature. Like, since it is a pretty localized thing, like riding scooters, like physical real world signage about like, do you see scooters being littered? You know, use report a problem to report it. I don't know, I could imagine real world signage kind of indicating that people could use this feature.
Yeah, to answer your question, we didn't discuss posting physical signage. But that's something that we can consider, or, you know, find another way to better communicate this out to the community.
Great. I think just as like as an example, I remember during 2020, there were a lot of physical signs. I saw them primarily around trails, but also in some other places in Arlington about, it was like COVID assistance, like, oh, a number you can call in the county. So you could imagine like that could have just gone out in socials that had a much wider impact because of the physical signage. Like people who might not be following Arlington County on Twitter, like Arlington on Twitter, stuff like that. Cool, I talked for a while and I did not see any other hands raised. So I think that's, oh, go Pam.
Hi. We all should be able to help promote this new reporter problem through our own local social media. You know, in my neighborhood, we have 4D. And I'll certainly put something up there. I'll make sure something goes in our civic association newsletter. We'll put it on the PAC listserv. So yeah, we'll try to get the word out as well. It's a great thing that you're doing, Antonio. I'm glad you're doing it. We'll check it out. Certainly, many of us live in one of those corridors, and we are certainly aware of the challenges. Thank you.
All right, great. Well, thank you for joining us, Antonio. Excited to hear about all of the scooter improvements. So I appreciate it.
Great, thanks for having me. I dropped my email on the chat, so if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to email me.
Great. All right. So moving on to the next item of our agenda. The next two items are kind of updates about ongoing things. And the first is we have our very own Mary Dallow back with us to give us a Walk Arlington update.
Turn my camera on here. Here I am. So hello, it's good to see everybody. And I have two quick updates about Walk Arlington. The first one is simply that I think I'd mentioned that we're updating the walkabouts brochure. So that has been progressing nicely. And I have Lauren Hassel, who used to be with Safe Routes to School, working as the consultant and editor on that. So she has updated all of the maps. It's being redesigned, and that's kind of an ongoing big project that we hope to have finished by July is our goal. So I'm excited about that, and I think everybody will enjoy it, the new maps. And then the other thing is that we're bringing back the National Walking Day Walking Palooza this spring, and that will be on April 15th. So I'm finishing up the plan for that and thinking about what the walks will be. I know based on what was successful last year, we did 5 walks. And so I think we'll do a little fewer this year, maybe 3, and trying to bring back the ones that were really popular, which was the pizza tasting walk, and then the walk on Theodore Roosevelt Island. That was very popular. So I have a 3rd pending walk that I need to figure out. And certainly if anybody has ideas, you all know walking. So I'm all open to any creative ideas of something that people would enjoy. And it's just, it's a fun community event to get out there and walk together and enjoy the walkability of Arlington. So I'm excited about that. And I welcome your ideas and I hope you'll participate. Pam actually co-led a walk last year, so she knows exactly what this event is, and she did a wonderful job. So those are pretty much my updates. But yes, always glad to hear from you if you have any ideas for me.
All right, thanks, Mary. So next, let's move on to Michelle. Michelle, I believe Leah gave you a set of written updates. If you could read those or provide color as you'd like.
Sorry, you're stuck with me tonight. I know the first update she asked me to share with you, I'm going to share the link to the page in the chat about the Forestry and Natural Resource Plan. The status of the project is county staff with their consultants at American Forests have analyzed the feedback received thus far and developed a summary report to share the engagement results and began edits and additions to the document, including graphics, maps, and formatting for the final draft. The engagement summary and project update were distributed to the public by the Gov delivery system on January 10th. And there are multiple links in this document, but I think everything can be found in the one that I included in the chat. Under the project timeline, staff are currently finalizing the first round of text edits while the consultant team is developing graphics and the formatted layout for the final draft. The editing process is anticipated to continue throughout the winter. Staff anticipates sharing the final draft with the community in late spring or early summer 2023 and bringing the final plan forward for adoption in the 4th quarter of calendar year 2023. This will include county board briefings, LRPC meetings, and other commission reviews. How to get involved? You can sign up for updates on the Forestry and Natural Resources Plan website, again, which I included. The Arlington Natural Resources Joint Advisory Group is the primary public forum for the plan updates and discussion. Stay tuned to future meetings and review past presentations on the website. If there are any questions about any of this, I'm ill-equipped to answer anything unless it was, what did you say? I'm happy to put people in contact with staff, or you can just follow up with Leah, who I think will be back next week anyway. And then,
yeah,
sorry,
this is not a question to comment, but the PAC has been involved with some of the other major plan updates. So I hope that we will be asked to be involved with this one. I guess we could ask Leah to be involved, but I hope that the PAC as a group agrees that that's a good idea. There's always pedestrian issues and everything.
I should say that the summary was provided by Ryan Delaney, who I have worked with on and you may recall Pam from the Pentagon City Sector Plan. He's works in the plan development team in parks, maybe contacting him directly might be a way to go if you wanted to express that.
Okay, and I'll make sure that the links to these materials are posted in our Google group and encourage everybody to look at them. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. You're welcome. I have one other update from Leah on the South George Mason Drive multimodal transportation study. Very briefly, the community meeting for phase 3 of the study, which was originally planned for mid-January, will take place in late March. The project team is using this time to refine several key details about the intersection concepts. Specifically, the project team is working on additional evaluation at the intersection of South George Mason Drive and South 4 Mile Run near me. Leah will email the Pedestrian Advisory Committee chairs directly regarding the March community meeting, and updates will be added to the website. Please contact her with any questions. So that gives timeline on the 2 items that she asked me to share the updates for. Anything else for me? Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Great.
I can read a script.
All right. So the last item we have on our agenda, and I fully think this meeting will end before 9. So thank you everyone for, yeah, we have a number of items, but we've, making good progress. Yeah, so this is the last item for the night. This will just take as long as it needs. I wanted to just have like kind of within the PAC discussion, one thing that's kind of different this year is I don't exactly know why. And maybe it's just, was what would happen in the past, but Ian and Pam just handled all of this, and so it wasn't visible. But I feel like we have 1 million SPRCs right now. It's less than 1 million, but I think there are like maybe 7 or 8 like active ones that are going on, and we're democratizing it, like we're spreading it out more than we have before. So like I just participated in my first SPRC, and it was very exciting. But now that we're, kind of opening it up and, sharing the load, and I think SPRCs are one thing, but then there's also like LPRCs and like various other like ways to engage that I kind of just wanted to like hear from some people who've been around the block of like, I don't know, just some strategies, like what sorts of things are you looking for? Like, what are some success stories you've had? Like, do you have wisdom to pass on to people who are doing SPRCs for the first time? So this is a very selfish thing I put on the agenda. But also, as you guys are getting emails from me almost every month, it feels like, of like new SPRCs that you might want to volunteer for. I hope this discussion will kind of encourage people who haven't done one before to volunteer. But yeah, so does anyone want to take the floor? I guess it doesn't need to be like SPRCs, like even if you haven't gone to like official meetings, like it could just be like, providing community input on like a web form. It doesn't need to be just that one thing. Jim, thanks.
I've done several, of course, and I'm the rep for the development at the site where the Holiday Inn in Ballston is, and I was the rep for the Macy's site, which is over in Dunwood. The county it's on its way, and I try to do is to narrow the perspective specific to pedestrians and of course some bicycles, but by and large focus on what would the Pedestrian Advisory Committee, how would we look at this? And in the 2 cases, I really haven't had much of a problem because they're pretty easy to do. Beyond that, and some of these are very straightforward. I mean, you will know whether there is an issue with a sidewalk for pedestrian access or safety or easy crossing a street. I think you would know that. Beyond that, I take the lead from the representatives in the neighborhood and frankly the members of the planning commission. They're very good. It's a seminar in fact. I mean, it's a good learning place. And but I would just advise, just first look at it very narrowly from the point of view of a pedestrian or a cyclist. And after that, then use your judgment. I'm done.
All right, Pam.
Hello.
Pam, if you were to estimate, how many SPRCs have you done? You don't have to answer if you don't.
Dozens. I started doing them in 2015, and I'm almost always the primary person for one south of Route 50, and I've done a couple north of Route 50, and one that I signed up for recently as the second person was a YMCA project, and it is kind of on hold, I think, which is one of the impacts of the whole SPRC process. The community and the planning commissioners and everybody else who's in the group goes over the materials and realizes this is not quite right. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I have always
Wait,
followed.
sorry, that's intriguing. Could you elaborate on that? Like, what isn't?
Oh my God!
Like, do you have example?
Well, gee, YMCA project, which Lord knows what's going to happen. It is the most topologically challenging site I've ever seen. Everything goes downhill into this site from every direction. So there's big, I think, stormwater problems potentially. But the main problem is this, let's see, where is this? Is off of, it's not my neighborhood, it's close to Kirkwood and 13th, which is not anywhere near close to where I live. I had to go over there to look at it. It's the Y building. There's two buildings there. There's a Y building that's got basic facilities in it. And then there's this indoor tennis facility, which is apparently one of the few indoor tennis facility clubs, whatever, in the county. And those people are really loyal. They love it. And it's a really nice facility. I went in there and looked around. And in the YMCA plans, they are replacing that building, and they're not planning to replace all of the courts that are currently there. So they're in an uproar. They've got to figure this out. But the whole thing that they're supposed to have really nice kind of shared paths going through the whole system. Not clear at all how they're going to work. It's just too challenging, too narrow. You're competing with all kinds of different stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. I always follow the advice of Ellen Armbruster, who used to do all of it for the PAC back when we had fewer SPRCs. And she would talk about it, and we said, what is an SPRC? What are you doing? We had no idea. But you get involved and you do learn. But her main advice was go to the site, look at it, walk through it, get familiar with it, get a feeling for how it works. That is the experience and the knowledge that we bring to this, and we are listened to. One of the things that I have learned, it's not just how pedestrians move around the site, but if you are using that site, how do you get out? How do you get to the streets? One of the sites I'm working on now is the Americana Hotel, which is in my neighborhood. It's a very long, narrow little lot. It's got a lot of challenges to it. And I looked at the plans, and it's like, okay, there's one entrance on the west side. Are there no other real entrances or exits in this building? and there weren't. So they put one in on the other side because they're realizing at some point that's going to be important. So you can have an impact on that. One of the things that is new, it is different now than it used to be. There's a lot more projects going on, especially in our neighborhood, but still going in Ballston, and things are moving further west from Ballston. So there's a ton of stuff. Yes, there are more projects. The Virginia law is such that they've set up this requirement where you have to have agreed upon the committee members before the whole thing is started. And which has been a problem for us because we don't know when it's going to start. We don't know what day it's going to be, whether it's going to be on Monday or Thursday. And that has been a challenge for us. One of the good things that they have started doing in the last couple of years is they have an online public engagement before they start the SBRC process. And it's really valuable if you are the PAC rep to go through the materials and participate in that. But it's also really important to review those materials before the first SBRC meeting, because you really get a sense of what the community concerns are, what the planning commission concerns are, and it gives you a heads up on what to expect. I love doing the SBRC stuff. I think it's one of the most important things that we do. I always have thought that. And as come up tonight, the way we get better sidewalks, better intersections, better pedestrian facilities, better streetlights, all the above is through these site plans. So it is so important that we participate, and it is fun. And a lot of them are going to be in your neighborhood. So please, please, please sign up. Lizzie is the one who gets the alerts that there's going to be something happening, and she'll post something, and people have to jump on it. I would love to have more of us involved in it. It's a great learning experience, and it's something that we can all share. So thank you. Bye.
And to one, I think I might have shared this. I forget if I shared this to the PAC or I've only been sharing it to individuals. But there has been a change recently in the process. So we were lamenting a few months ago when the new process was like, we need to know by like the planning commission date. And so we had to get all of our ducks in a line. We couldn't switch anybody, and we had to have a backup. That's actually, it's all simplified. What we're doing now is, it's always great to get people like signed in ahead of time, but when we don't get things signed in ahead of time, my name is entered. And whether it's my name or anyone else's name, as long as 24 hours before the meeting, we let them know that someone else will be attending, that is okay now. So it is less that we need to know like 6 weeks ahead of time. The only two people who could come to the meeting. So that is a very recent change. Very recent.
Literally they put your name in there, Lizzie, if you haven't found anybody else specifically?
Yes.
Is that automatic? So we always have a seat at the table.
We always have a seat at the table.
Oh, that is wonderful news. Okay,
yeah, and so it's up to me to to make sure we get it to someone. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That gives us a lot more flexibility. Great, thank you. Although it still would be great if people volunteer as soon as they can.
Yeah. Hi, Jim.
Yeah, to emphasize what Pam said, it's very important to be familiar with the site. And at the last SPRC for the Holiday Inn site, the developers are always there, so they're there, and I think it's important to appeal to their self-interest. These sites are going to be there for a long time, and I think they want to do the best they can. You need to remind them that people are going to notice this. This is not. This is going to be obvious at these places, and they need to do the best they can. What I asked was, for the developer, I said, imagine that your grandmother is going to live in one of these units and wants to take a walk with her pals over lunch. She's, make it safe, make it pleasant, have a place where they can sit and chat in safety and in shade, and, appeal to their logic, I guess, or to their self-interest.
Yeah, Jim?
No, I'm just trying to get my hand down. I'm done.
I guess we don't have John and Ian, who have also done a number with us tonight. They would have wisdom. Pam.
A couple other things. One of the big issues that's come up in the last couple of years is PUDO, the pickup drop off. And we're always reminding the developer that you've got to figure out where you're going to do PUDO. And it's a real challenge. This is a specific challenge at the Americana site because the side of the building that faces Eads, which is the main street that it faces, is really tiny. It's like 90 feet long, and the whole lot is a couple 100 feet long. But there's not, and it's got to include some walls and other spaces and a driveway, and there's just not a lot of room right in front of the building for PUDO, and you have to have PUDO there. So you have to keep reminding these people, okay, you got to figure out how you're going to do this, and they're working on some creative solutions that we'll see how it works out. The other part that I try to pay attention to is remembering how people who have disabilities are going to use this space, and are the sidewalks smooth? Are they wide enough? Are the pedestrian ramps in place? And how there's paths through the site, are those appropriate for people with disabilities? And one of my challenges with the Americana site, they have pushed the actual lobby entrance to the building back, and they've kind of have this weird open space in front of it, and a cafe next to it. And I will talk about this more at the SBRC next week. Their argument was, well, we can't really, the lobbyist in the building is going to be where it is no matter what. So the space is going to be the same whether the front door is towards the back or towards the street. And there's a difference between whether you have protected space that's part of the building, perhaps with some seats where people can wait, or whether they have to traverse this distance in open space, exposed to the weather, exposed to whatever, and don't have a convenient place to wait. So things like that, it's important that we think about those and raise them. And sometimes you can win and sometimes you can't, but it's important to raise them. And sometimes there is a representative from the Disability Commission, but often there is not. So we have to kind of cover that base too. That's it. Please volunteer.
Great. Eric Goodman.
I just want to say, Pam, that's very much appreciated that you're looking at it from a disability standpoint. I know sometimes just dropping off in front of a building, it can be very difficult because the only curb cuts are usually in a crosswalk, which doesn't make it very easy for dropping folks off. So that's a key critical thing. So I'm glad you're looking at that.
All right. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for your wisdom. I have one final question. This is a very self-serving topic, so I apologize, but specifically on PUDO, maybe I just wanted to talk to the hive mind real quick about whether we have quick thoughts of like what works well for PUDO, and maybe very targeted. I've seen in a number of recent site plans this idea of like shared streets, often like in an alleyway. So there's no grade differential between where the pedestrians are and like where the like cars are. The idea that like the shared street is meant to be like more of like a calming measure because there isn't that difference. And I guess I don't know. I'm posting 2 questions. What works well for pickup drop off? And I don't know. As pedestrians, are we pro shared street? I know it's not a binary, but does anyone have thoughts? Okay, go Pam.
The shared streets make me nervous.
Okay.
But yeah, they're getting really popular, and I don't know how to have a good argument against them. I'm not really crazy about sharing the space with cars with no defined separation. For Pudo, the important thing is first is that it's raised, and they need to consider what all the different kinds of Pudo are and what the needs are. And, I, I have this whole list of things that's, you have Pudo, and everything has changed since COVID. I mean, it wasn't really an issue before, but now everybody wants everything delivered. We're not driving as much, but those Pudo vehicles are out there. And a lot of it is really short term, but you have food delivery, you have grocery delivery, you have people delivery, you have people being picked up. You have Amazon deliveries, packages. Some things need special care. Some things that you just throw them in a room. And it's up to the developer to really think about what all these things are. It's going to be an ongoing need. And I think in the case of the Americana, they're trying to structure some loading docks they'll have like 2 different kinds of loading docks. Some are from shorter vehicles, some are for bigger vehicles, and some of the Pudo use is for very short term. A lot of it, when it's for people, it has to be by the entrances. It makes no sense to drop off somebody not by the entrance. And again, there has to be an accessible place to drop off people. That's a given. And you just lay all those things out and say, okay, do it. It's got to go somewhere. Some of it's fine if it's, down the alley, around the corner, or with the rest of the loading zone. But for stuff, when you're talking about Pudo of people, it's going to be in a very public spot by an entrance. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I guess one thing I've noticed just anecdotally is a number of what seemed like fairly recent sites that there might be like loading areas or like more designated areas like in the back or like you said in an alley, but because they're non-obvious, the kind of very quick like one-time Pudo like the Uber or the Uber Eats like doesn't find it, and so they like just pull up to the front entrance anyway, even if there is a devoted spot. So I like your point about like, I don't know, the location does matter.
Yeah, but something like Uber Eats, they should be going to the main entrance unless they have a very specific spot. Yeah, there's no reason why somebody delivering food should have to deal with a loading dock. There's got to be a way to get it in the building to the right person very quickly. It's food. And yeah, they just have to be reminded what all these different things are and how they need to be accommodated. And I think developers are starting to realize that this is a big issue and they're planning better for it. You need to watch out for how Pudo spaces impact bike lanes and sidewalks. And protect both of those. And we have an ongoing huge problem in Crystal City, Crystal Drive, where you go down Crystal Drive sometimes on a Friday night, and the entire bike lane is full of double parked cars that are just delivery, quick pickup, and there's obviously inadequate Pudo. But it's an example of how we can raise important new issues to developers to get them thinking about it and how to deal with things. And maybe they won't get it perfect at this development, but hopefully it'll be better the next time. and work on them for this time.
Yeah, I have a very loud background noise. One second. Okay, I'll talk throughout it. But yeah, I think it's kind of a natural end of the conversation. Unless Tom, were you unmuting to say something?
Yeah, let me just
Okay, yeah.
just say something. Can you see me? There I am.
We can see you here. Okay, oh, now we can see you.
We sounds like we should put a checklist together. You know, the one that's easily amended and so forth, but it's easy to forget when you're in. I've probably done 100 of these meetings, and it's been years, and since I have, it's been a few years. But I think a checklist would be order, especially with new people joining. It's fun. Oh, the main thing to realize is that you are recognized as a member of the team. They welcome I've never seen a new member discouraged. It's been often bend over backward encouragement to hear a new voice on the committee. So I think maybe we should put our heads together and develop a list, especially for new members or for new attendees. That's it. I'm not volunteering. I'm not volunteering.
Great idea. We can work on that.
I volunteered to contribute, but
yeah. Years ago, I did up something, but a lot of stuff has changed.
You there? Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a great idea. Oh, Tom, could you mute? I think there's feedback.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea. I think we can put together a Google Doc. I have a note for that, and then we can I'll pre-populate with some of the things we discussed. But then, yeah, I think that would be very helpful for people doing their first or second or fifth or 10th such meeting. All right. As I was saying before I had something delicious being made in the kitchen over there, but very loudly. Yeah, it feels like we reached kind of a natural end of the discussion. So thank you everyone for really just indulging me, but hopefully others benefited as well. I promise I won't be as self-serving with all of our agendas. Cool. So just moving into just final items, kind of PAC business. So yeah, the first one is the approving of the January minutes. Pam, could you confirm that we still have quorum? Like we should have like the Jeopardy music.
Okay, people. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, so so we want to approve the January minutes. Before we move to approve, are there any edits to the minutes that people have not previously notified Pam about? Yeah, that is the best way to get modifications to the minutes before they get posted for the world to see. So cool. Hearing none after a little bit of stalling, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I approve.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay, great. Cool. So please speak if you are opposed to the approving of the minutes. Okay, hearing nothing, the minutes are so approved. Great. I think the last piece here for PAC business, I'll open it up if people have announcements. By seeing membership status, Pam, I did not prepare for this one. Do you know the current status of the membership status? I know there was the worry that no one was on the PAC at the last meeting because we all expired.
Yeah, my understanding is the county manager's office is working on how to fix this, and no worries. So we don't have to do anything at the moment.
Okay,
And
great. So this might be a rogue meeting, but we're on the PAC.
we're okay. And
Yeah.
also no word on the charter yet.
Okay.
And as we know, we can still continue to meet virtually, which is great. Gives us much more flexibility. I do have one item to raise, which is the hope to have a joint backpack meeting in March, when Wei has been invited to speak. And I hope everybody knows that she is going to be Dennis Leach's replacement. So she has been invited to speak to the backpack together, and with what her plans are, and it'll be a great opportunity for us to ask questions of her. But I don't know whether it's going to be on the back date or on the pack date. And does anyone here care one way or the other which day we meet on? And looking at
Eric Goodman, I have some thoughts after this.
So actually, this kind of is a good point to kind of bring up, is that just wanted to mention that at the back meeting 2 days ago, one of the thing that usually Cynthia likes to bring up a question for folks, what would we want to emphasize or tell the new transportation person? What are our priorities? And basically, as each person was introduced, everybody had an opportunity to give some of their priorities. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea for us to do something like that before we meet with her, to kind of flesh out, some of our thoughts and actually give an opportunity to some folks that haven't really had the opportunity to talk that much at our meetings. So it might be a good idea to do that. As far as having another joint meeting, I'm wondering if it might be good to even just potentially have her come to each of our meetings so she can actually focus on our issues. Certainly, we've had some good combined meetings when we've been working on a specific project, a specific issue, but it might be good for her to come and spend some time addressing our concerns. And then maybe at a future meeting, maybe have her address some joint concerns. Just a thought.
Yes, my thoughts. As I said, I had some that we have been very joint meeting heavy in the last 6 months, especially. I think we may have had more joint meetings than not.
Yes,
that might not be correct, but it might be correct. And so I think if I'm remembering the email thread correctly, I think there was something that like she could only come to one. I forget if it's like a date didn't work or like kind of how it was communicated. So I think it is an open question of whether they're, yeah, kind of just having her come in a future month, and it's like, okay, if we don't catch her, that like, yeah, I hear what you're saying about like, there's value in kind of having two separate conversations with her, so that it doesn't end up being entirely about bike issues. Oh, not, I don't want to say entirely about bike issues, but like that there is time for like the focus, and it's not kind of pinging back and forth between the two. I'd see value in that.
Do we want to take a vote on whether we want to do it jointly or separately?
I think that would be good. Yeah. So I think, yeah, because our meetings are very different when they're joint versus not joint. So yeah, so let's take a vote. So there's some unknowns here, but let's go under the assumption that if we were to meet, we would, if we were to meet separately, we would like not be able to have this introduction until some potential future date. If that was, yeah, if let's say that is a restriction. So joint or separate other options. Okay. Cool. So, ooh, this could be fun. Oh no, never mind. I was gonna say people could raise their hands to like vote, but then I realized if people abstain, it looks like they're voting against. Well, let's try it. We'll have people vote to put their hands down and vote for another option. And if you don't care either way, just don't raise your hand either time. Okay, so the first option is going to be separate, and the second option is going to be joint. Everyone, think in your minds what you're going to vote for. Don't be influenced by what other people vote for. Once you've decided, okay. So votes for separate. Raise your hand. Okay, and we got Tom Corns, physical hand raised. Okay, so I count 5. Oh, I count 6 now. Okay, our numbers are growing. All right. Cool. So everyone lower their hands, making sure everyone's hands are lowered. Perfect. Okay. And now joint meeting, raise your hands now. Ooh. Either everyone's teams glitched or we have no votes for a joint meeting. Okay, I will take that as a vote for separate meetings. So we'll see if we can figure out, kind of chase down that email thread and see if whether we can get both of us an introduction on the same month, or we might have to delay that. But the pack has spoken. So thank you, everyone. Pam, that was a great idea. We should vote more often. That was fun.
I'm hoping that we could do it the same month if it fits her schedule, and that we can have the prior discussion online ahead of time. Yeah, that would be good. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, because I don't feel prepared for that discussion because I don't entirely know what her like domain is that she reigns over.
Oh yeah, so. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have met her and you've heard her speak, right? Yeah, she's.
I believe she came maybe fall 2021 to speak about pedestrian intervals. Like the buttons.
Yes, big buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's very much an engineer. Yeah, she has the subject expertise, and apparently she has lots of other skills too.
All right, great. So just a final few minutes. Does anyone have any announcements that they would like to share or final thoughts?
Yeah, I will announce that that VIPRA is having a meeting this coming Monday at, I think it's 11 or 11:30, where they are going to be discussing the dimensions of the bike ped Long Bridge Bridge. And I'm going to go in person to kind of represent us, but people are encouraged to attend virtually. And I think I posted the information to our Google group, but I'll probably do that again just to remind people. It's something that's really important that we get right so that we're all comfortable and safe using this wonderful new bridge. And you know, the more bridges we have across the Potomac, the better for us. So it's great, but if it's going to be too narrow and too squished together, it's not going to work. Which is basically, I guess, what I'll say.
What a time for an in-person meeting. Thank you for making time for that, Pam.
The joys of being retired. What else am I going to do?
You're muted.
Thank you. Yeah. Hearing no other announcements, I think we can adjourn our meeting 11 minutes early. But since we are new fans of, well, not new fans of voting, do we have any? I guess I'll make the motion to adjourn. I'll say that definitively. I make the motion to adjourn.
I second.
Second, great. Any opposed? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned. I see we have stopped recording. Thanks everyone for coming. And thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle, can you make sure that the chat is captured and send me a copy, if possible? Thank you.
You are muted, but hopefully the answer was
She's muted.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how to do that.
I don't either.
Mary, do you know how to do that?
I don't know if I can do it from here.
Or do you know how to direct Michelle to do it?
I don't know if I've ever recorded in Teams.
If anybody has any tips, let me know, but I'll see what I can do. I know there's the transcript, but I don't know about the chat.
I hope that it just kind of magically happens, like that it would be all saved there. It's been running this whole time, so I think it would just be there.
We're still recording too.
Encryption status.